On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Heath Oaks is a millennial mogul whose ignorance on fire led him to fail his way to success. Jenny Anchondo is an Emmy award-winning journalist whose sharp eye and biting wit have led to her storied career in television. Together, they tackle today's headlines in a way only an odd couple with a dash of perfect opposite can. So kick back, relax, and join the conversation. This is Second Shot with your hosts, Heath and Jenny.
Jenny's getting all out on the limb with the twist of grapefruit in Topo Chico. Not just the regular. Anybody
I'm wild.
Yeah. We got
I
Jenny,
like
Zach, and Matt. We got the whole crew in today. And if anybody's a fan of the show knows that we've been talking about Topo Chico for a long time. For some reason, I have no clue why and or how this has become like a drink of topic. But then Jenny comes in with a curveball with some grapefruit.
I'm just waiting for them to sponsor the show. I think that'd be an excellent and controversial sponsor, considering half of the crew doesn't like it.
It's
and
true.
half does.
I think more than half of the crew likes it, right? Heath, you're the only holdout, aren't you?
That right there is a double whammy of 2 things I could care less for: Topo Chico and grapefruit.
Not a grapefruit fan.
The lime one is pretty good too, though.
More for us, gentlemen.
There you go.
More for us.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to be the nice guy and just let y'all have all the Topo Chico you want. Just kind of guy I am.
Well, thank you. And you can have your Gatorade Frost.
I like Gatorade.
Very big of you. What's the difference between Gatorade and Gatorade Frost?
I don't know. That's just
It's a marketing
more
ploy.
Sugar,
Probably.
More
He
electrolytes.
did have a big workout this morning, you guys. We got up before Brighton and did Peloton for 20 minutes.
Hold on. Peloton's a big podcast sponsor. I've heard of them on other podcasts, right? They're the bike with the classes and the whole, yeah?
You have one at your house?
We don't have the bike, but Peloton has a 14-day free trial where you can do all the other workouts. Like they have yoga, they have meditation,
They have virtual instructor workouts.
Strength stuff. So anyway, we got our strength training on this morning, so he needed his Gatorade.
Nice.
Several more of them. That Laura's a...
It wasn't Laura, it was Robin NYC.
Whatever. See, I don't even care who she is. I can't remember her name. I don't like
She was
her.
terrible.
Aw. No, I'm just kidding. She just worked me out too hard.
Coming up on the end of summer, we have our first headline for today's episode. A boy wears an I Will Be Your Friend shirt on the first day of school. This is coming out of Georgia. One little boy's personalized shirt he wore on the first day of school is getting quite the attention, and for good reasons. His name is Black Rajan, and his bright orange shirt reads, I will be your friend. His local news station reported that his mom, Nikki, owns a personalization business and decided to make a special shirt for her son. When she had asked him what special shirt he wanted, he said he wanted one that said, quote, I will be your friend. Never underestimate your kid's heart for others, she wrote on Facebook. Very sweet. Kids are so sweet.
I thought that was such... I mean, it's going back to school, and that story was just such a breath of fresh air. I mean, we need to say that we send our prayers and thoughts with everybody in El Paso and Ohio that have been through the most recent, just some of the most horrific things going on lately, with both of those cities going through what they are. And then, then to see something like this, that a kid, wanted, it wasn't like his mom made it for him to wear. He asked for, I want to be your friend, and how important that is, and what kids could be going through at the school and then see him, just like, hey, I want to be your friend. That is such an awesome thing.
Yeah, true.
Those
sign
parents
of
are
a
doing a
leader.
good job.
It is. It certainly is a reflection of the parents. I mean, that's what I saw something posted on Instagram yesterday, and it was showing some off-brand shoes, and it said, parents, kids don't know to make fun of these shoes unless you tell them that these are not okay.
Yeah,
Going
sure.
back to bullying, you know what I mean? In terms of like kids don't know that whatever brand, I don't even know what the cool brand is for kids right now, whatever brand is the brand, it's you saying, oh no, I'm not going to send my kids with off-brand shoes, or oh, I saw that so-and-so only has this. They learn it from us.
Yeah.
Just like with kindness from that shirt. And I was thinking about second shots, and it made me, think about the lessons that we learn from children in general. And so often I'm home with Brighton and see her do something that makes me think, wow, she just inspired me to up level my game. So I came up with like the top 3 things that she has sort of taught me. Or
Brightonisms?
Yes, Brightonisms.
Yeah.
Things that Brighton's taught me. So the first one, the main one, is that all children, all babies, we're talking about like 2-year-olds here, they don't get down when you tell them they're incorrect. So I might say, Brighton, what color is this bottle? She'll say pink. I say, no, it's green. She goes, okay, green. She doesn't pause and get down and defeated like, oh, I thought it was pink and I was wrong and now I don't know colors and I probably will never know colors. I'm probably colorblind.
So
I should probably never answer it. That's what we adults do, right? And it takes us like an hour to get over it. Kids, they say, oh, okay, that's green. And then guess what? They learned it. And then eventually they learn their colors. So it's like if we could shorten our sort of depression after getting something wrong to the amount of time that a kid does, we would learn things so much faster.
And just not care. Like, she doesn't care. She could care less that she got it wrong.
It doesn't decrease her self-worth at all.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, cool.
And then think about people that are listening here. If your self-worth wasn't decreased when you got something wrong or how it was, and you just were able to bounce on like, oh, okay, cool, that's green. Like how much less time would you spend being down and moving, and then you'd be moving forward that much more. I love that one.
So the second thing that I learned from her that is a reminder for me and hopefully everybody is that her interests are not dictated by what anybody else wants her to do. I mean, as much as I try, to get her into certain things that I'm into, she is so direct. And I know that all parents can remember this phase of when their children were not influenced by anybody else, whether they were into trucks or cars or, dolls or whatever it is. Her thing is babies. So I've tried to get her into dance.
I've tried to get her on motorcycles and bikes and
anything that moves fast.
He really wants her to be. It's like she gets in that little thing, but she really wants to play with her babies. That's her thing. That's her, like, a little passion, so to speak, right now. And she's also not influenced by really what other kids are doing. You can take her to a party or something like that. And again, this is not unique to my child. I'm just talking about children in general. You can take them to a party and they're not like, oh, all the other kids are doing this. They're like, no, I see this thing. I like dinosaurs. They're not ashamed of what their interests are. They're not, they go directly to it and thus are more successful.
Well, and it's also, that's that creativeness. That's how people, how, if you are sitting there always thinking that, oh, how can that person be so creative, come up with this cool stuff? Well, they're not following the crowd. If they have their mindset on something they want to do, they go down that route versus that. And that's what kids teach us is that, like you said, we can go to anything. I can try to get Brighton to do something, but if she gets zoned in on something, that's what she wants to do. She could care less if all 10 of the other kids are doing this other thing. She's over here doing this. And it's like sometimes that's why we don't get as creative, because we're not willing to kind of do what others are not doing in order to try to find our own path versus thinking we got to follow somebody else's path.
Yeah, those childlike tendencies are really, really beautiful and hopefully something we can all, kind of be reminded about and tap into. The last thing that, there are so many things, but like the third main thing that children have that I think we can learn from is that they're very much in their bodies. They very much understand, for example, hunger cues. So did you know that if you just feed a baby, they will stop when they're full and they'll let you know when they're hungry. So over the years, what happens? Done. Yeah, done. She would say ding when she was done. Ding. Ding. But over the years, what happens is that we hear, oh, I should eat this, so I'm going to eat this, or I should not eat this, so I'm not going to eat this. And so we start listening in our heads instead of in our hunger cues and in our bodies, and that's how we end up with issues down the road with regard to so many different things with regard to eating. But it's a really beautiful thing about kids is that they will tell you when they're hungry, they'll tell you when they're full, and if they are shielded from the influences of what they should and should not do and when they should and should not eat, they will keep those hunger cues for a lifetime.
So Zach and Matt that don't have kids, does this mean anything to y'all?
Does that sound weird?
Yeah, can I be a kid for a living? Hold on a second. I'm doing this all wrong.
But it's like you got to. They're paying attention to themselves. They're in their bodies.
But isn't that though? There's something to think about. That it's like all the things that you come up with in your head that are fears of yours, that are all that. Like all of us at once did not have that. Like we were taught to feel that way. Like,
right.
Like shouldn't that be that? That's that thing that can help you overcome the understanding that you own your mind. You can make a decision to not feel this way. To not be influenced that way if you don't want to.
Yeah.
That thing doesn't have to own you. You can move on with it. As kids teach us so much that they do what they, it's like those are such, and it's so crazy that how much you can be taught that way. And then talk about this kid, with I'll be your friend. That's awesome.
Right.
Right, that he came up with that on his own. So he probably, it sounds like he has a naturally sweet spirit, but was also, he's surrounded by parents who hear him and who listen to him and say, oh yeah, you know what, I will do that for you. Or I'll help sort of, let that flourish. And what an amazing child. And truly, so there's the example there from the child. And have we all not been in a place where we kind of hoped that in a crowd, somebody would be our friend?
Yeah.
I know I have. I know
yeah.
I definitely have. I was just at that conference calling Heath saying, I was by myself and I said, I think I'm going to go back to the room. I don't know anybody here. And he was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Grow up.
It's very
get
yeah.
out there. But I mean, I'm shy in those instances. And somebody actually did come over and say, okay, you can, you can sit with us. And I think it sounds silly, but even adults need that. Even professionals need that, somebody to talk to them.
So what were the 3 main takeaways?
So
From that.
3 main takeaways. Keep trying after you fail, and not just trying after you fail, but do it quickly. Do
rebound fast.
A rebound immediately, and that's how we will learn without taking it personally. Just taking it as information, not taking it as anything about to do with you personally, but just, I'm learning this thing. Second of all, not being influenced by materialistic influences. Power, money, whatever everybody else has, whatever everybody else is doing, being truly connected to
your thing,
your own creativity, and then finally being in your body with regard to what your body needs and really truly paying attention to that.
We'll be back in a minute for the second segment of Second Shot.
He makes up words, she translates them. Heath and Jenny host more of Second Shot, coming up on RNCN.
Okay, we wanted to take a quick minute to tell you guys about a company called Energy Ogre. So Heath and I have been using this company for years to save money on our electricity. We've told you guys about it for months and months and months too. So basically what they do is they shop around your electricity and then they find the lowest option and then they manage it. So you know how if you notice your rates are going up, you might call around, but who really does that? So they do that for you. The deal is that it costs $10 a month, and if they can't save you anything, then you get the $10 back. So for us, what we noticed is it cut our bill at least in half. So we're talking, we were upwards of $200, maybe a little more than $200 a month. Now we're down to $100. Yes, even in the blazing summers here in the Dallas area of Texas. So it's energyogre.com. So here's Ogre. It's OGRE. So ENERGYOGRE.com. And they actually give us a deal for Second Shot listeners. So if you would like to use it, the discount code is Second Shot. So you can try it for free and see how it works. Again, it's really not a risk because if you get on there and they can't save you any money, then they don't charge you anything and you'll get to try it out for free with the code Second Shot.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
I think we could go for like days on that last topic almost. I was like, there was other things that were hitting me with just could go on and on and on. And I'm I'd be so proud if like Brighton wanted to wear a shirt like that. I'd probably cry like a baby right then.
Like our job here is done. If when your child does that, you're done.
You're done.
You succeeded.
You've done
Pat
it.
yourself on the back, move on. Parenting is over.
Yeah. and this other one is almost kind of a. It hit me. This other one hit me hard because I was like I can so see me being that. Unfortunately, like on this headline, this next one, this one I think is a struggle with most parents.
Yeah, this is a really good one. We're kind of focusing on because it is about to be back to school. And Brighton's going to her little Mother's Day out, or I think now it's, to be more politically correct, it's Parents' Day out. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, because that offended me.
Okay.
Hold on. What is
not be
parents?
involved here?
So
Yeah.
it used to be called Mother's Day out because more traditionally the mothers would be stay-at-home moms, and so they'd been with the kids all summer. So this is like a little preschool for like 2.5 hours a day that the kids would go to. But now it's Parents' Day out because it could be that the dad is getting a break, that the mom's working and the dad's getting a break.
It offended me.
Is it one
Okay.
day a week, or is this a weekly?
I'm glad you got that changed.
So last year, Brighton went to a Parents' Day Out program 1 day a week. She started when she was 18 months old, and she went for like 2 hours a day. And then next year, she'll be going for 3 days a week, and it's just for like a few hours.
Not like in a week or two. She'll start.
Or yes.
Yeah.
In a week, she's starting 3 days a week, and it's just for like a couple hours. So the idea is that the kids get some interaction. If the parents are stay-at-home parents, they get a little bit of a break, or perhaps if a nanny's dropping them off. I'm trying to not offend anybody. Whatever your situation is,
welcome, yeah.
your child is going to hang
Guardians
out.
Day Out.
Hey,
Guardians Day Out,
Perfect.
Grandparents Day Out.
Yeah.
This is the
Matt
yin
and
and
Zach's
yang.
day out.
If you
Yeah.
want to be offended, just ask me, because I won't be as politically correct.
Here come the emails. Our second headline, yes.
Yes.
Tom Brady says it was hard when his son wasn't into sports. The New England Patriots star recently opened up to Men's Health about having a tough time realizing one of his two sons wasn't a football fanatic like his dad. While 12-year-old Jack is a huge sports fan, 9-year-old Benjamin isn't so keen on them. Brady said, Jack is just like me. He holds a lot in. Benny lets it all out. Jack loves sports. He wants to try hard, and he never wants to disappoint his dad. He says, that was me. I'd wake up early on weekends to do stuff with my dad, and that's why I didn't party a lot. If Dad wanted to golf, I wanted to be there with him, and if I ever missed those things, it would crush me. But Benjamin isn't quite that way. Tom Brady said, I was like, come on, let's do this. And he was like, nope. And I was like, what? No, do this. The way he saw it, he assumed, because of the way he was raised and because of the way his first son was, that boys just kind of had an affinity for sports in general. And it wasn't until he had a good sit down with his wife, Giselle, who told him, like, it's just not the way. He's just different. He's not that way. And that's okay. And it took him a little while to come around on it, but he said, the reality is that Benny just likes different things, and it's great because now I just have to go do what he wants to do. And when we do that, we have the best time, and he loves it, and we really connect, and it's really cool. But it took him a little while to overcome that. So you guys are parents. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, I think it's a very hard thing for parents to do. I mean, I love, when I wasn't a parent, I could easily judge. What do you mean? You should let your kid do whatever you want, right?
Oh, it's so easy.
It's so easy looking outside.
yeah.
When you're there, it's not. My second shot on it, although, was really thinking about, there's that old dynamic of the jack of all trades or none, or being a master at something and how it all works.
Jack of all trades, master of
Yeah,
none.
and which way to go, You see a lot of these successful people who made it as a football player, and they literally did it 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? But then you got the people like Antonio Gates, who's arguably one of the all-time greatest tight ends ever, who played basketball.
Yeah.
And then literally walked onto an NFL football team, never playing football, and is one of the best all-time greatest tight ends, right? And then you got the Tom Brady, who from 5 years old was throwing a football. So what way is right is there is no such thing. And it's like also reminding that as a kid, but not only that, as a parent, I mean, as a leader of people, is that not putting people into one box. And that how much can almost come from. So one of the reasons why they say Antonio Gates, for instance, is one of the greatest all-time tight ends and transcended the position. Because coming from basketball, he was jumping over people. He was doing things tight ends had never thought they could do. He was elevating a whole nother level. He changed that position because of his background in basketball. He didn't think, I got to stick with these tight end rules and be boring. No, he jumped over people like he did in basketball, right? But if he didn't have...
Let's all do that.
But if he didn't have that different set of background, that would have never happened, right? He could have been same old boring. So I think at times that we try to get confused in it, and as we were talking about is if you're trying to start something new and you're trying to be great at 5 things, it's not going to work. You want to be great at one thing, but then you want to have that focus, but it's not bad that if you want to go focus on baseball all year and next year focus all year on football, next year focus on, that's not a bad thing. Would you agree?
I totally agree. I think that it's interesting because, yes, maybe his son is honing in on one particular thing, and maybe he'll get to the sports thing later on down the road. But I think when it comes to goal setting and truly accomplishing things, as much as I despise this truth, I do think it's a truth. You can only work toward one goal at a time, in my opinion. I've just seen this to be true in my life, and so I've actually started to do. I used to write down a bunch of different goals, and I was like, no, we got to figure this out and figure out what season am I in, and that doesn't mean that I won't still be kind of working on the other things in the back, but like, what thing am I going to blow out of the water? What thing am I going to just nail? and kill it at. And during, like, for example, like the year of pregnancy, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to research everything that I should be eating. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to get this room ready. I'm going to find out how I'm going to feed her, how we're going to take care of her. Really like hone in all these things. I read about sleep training, breastfeeding, all these different things, potty training. Okay, so now we've sort of made it through that hoop. Now I can refocus more professionally. And so I'm writing down this one goal. And I was going to say it, but now it sounds a little obnoxious, and I'm not sure if I want to say it.
Oh, no, you're too far deep. Now you have
you're
to.
too deep now.
Yeah, hold on.
You open your mouth way too much.
So my current goal, which is not my overall long-term goal for my whole life, but my current one I'm focusing on right now is having the most profitable HotWorks franchise in the country. So
that's a good goal to have.
Yeah,
I like
that's a
that
great
goal.
goal.
I
That's
love
my
that
goal.
goal.
I think if I'm going to do this business, right? Like, so journalism and news is about impacting lives. This is about running a business, providing some jobs to people, doing well. So that's my goal, and so now that I put it out there, it's like, oh, that sounds like a lot now that I put that out there. But that's really what I want to do. And so I'm writing it down every day and focusing on that and letting some of the other things simmer a little bit. Because I think if I was still really focused on my other main life goal right now, I'd be in a frustrating pattern.
Well, in the one of the biggest kicks that some people will find themselves in is maybe they have had that one singular focus for so long, and then maybe that comes to a crashing halt of some sort, and they got to pivot, and pivoting from that, and they feel down, like maybe they're not hearing that, but understand maybe that's that season, maybe that's that time to pivot, because I go back to Antonio Gates and think he had a basketball career, played D1, that was in college, he was playing that, and he couldn't get to the NBA. So he pivoted to football. So, like the last segment we said, when you're wrong, Brighton just bounces back. Okay, it's green, right? You know what he did? Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to go try this other thing. Instead of getting down on himself and spending 5 years in the hole of like, poor me, I didn't make it to the NBA, transitioned to become one of the greatest all-time tight ends in the NFL, right? Like, but he didn't waste time sitting around soaking in it. Like sometimes that deals, Steve Harvey, I posted a clip on Facebook that he was
so good.
Asking a guy. This guy asked him, he said, hey, how do you stay motivated when you got, he got laid off and that, everywhere he goes, it's like either he's too overqualified for something or the stuff that actually pays what he thinks he's worth is he's too underqualified for it and he keeps getting rejected. And, Steve Harvey said, well, the truth of the matter is understand that God shoved you off of that. You should have left that. He's been telling you that. And so you didn't listen. So he just ended it for you by laying it off. So now it's time to find what you want. What's your passion? You love being in the kitchen. Why are you looking for another sales rep job to get you the exact same mundane thing you were looking for? Go get your culinary skills. Try to be in the kitchen. That's what he was looking for. And it's sometimes we're shoved off in that direction. And we don't realize that the rebound is maybe that next second phase that we can go focus on. That just because a lot of people may be listening that have had one singular focus that have had to pivot. And understand, look at the Antonio Gates and all these people's stories that when they pivoted, it ended up being something that was transcended them to a whole nother level. Like you've never had a focus on making a HotWorks your most profitable thing.
No, my focus has been entirely on my broadcasting career. And for the record, if you've listened to past episodes and know about the Chip and Joanna Gaines situation, I will immediately pivot back to them.
Yeah.
And to hosting a show on their network.
Yeah.
But should that happen? But it's like right now, this is the opportunity that I have. And so this is what I'm going to focus on. I mean, maybe Heath's trying to say I need to pivot away from broadcasting, but I'm not ready.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I'm not. I'm talking about in general to people because I think a lot of people get in, a lot of people are sitting in those different seasons where they're trying to have to pivot. And it's beating them down. They're not bouncing back from that being green fast enough, right? Like, and I think they need to hear some of the stories of like you, for instance, you're not giving up on broadcast journalism and getting back in it. But guess what? You're only going to settle for the thing that you think is best for you. You're not going to go do just to do, right? And that's something to be admired. And
in the meantime,
you're pivoting to something else. And guess what? You can do all of that. And I think that's what I want to tell everybody is you can do that. Like, you can pivot to these things. You can have different focuses. And then if something comes off, don't be scared to jump off of that and go on to the next one if it's not fulfilling it. That's okay. Like we talked about the last episode, not following what everybody else is doing is 100% okay. We'll be back in the third segment of Second Shot right after this.
Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Heath and Jenny still to come.
Quick break to tell you about one of my favorite books written by my podcast co-host and my husband. So the book is called Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. So this is a story of basically my husband's journey from being someone who barely graduated from high school, did not finish college, didn't have any real formal education in the business world, and how he went to become one of the top executives at his company. And it's just a fun, inspiring story. If you have somebody who is maybe getting ready to start a new school year or starting a new job or something like that, this is just a good inspirational read for them. A lot of my adult friends have enjoyed it too. And I just had to shout him out and tell you guys about the book. So you can get it on Amazon. You just search Ignorance on Fire. Or if you prefer the audio version, he will be reading it to you in his Texas accent. It is on audible.com. Again, just search Ignorance on Fire.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
So one of the things I love, we had a guy post in the Second Shot Facebook group that is a super secret group. You should go join. That and he said he
Just ask
said,
to get in and you'll get in.
Yeah. he was on like a 10-hour drive and he was catching up on the episodes and he was like, all right, the shaming has worked. I'm leaving a review. You know, he was like, the shaming has worked. So I'm shaming you right now. Go leave us a review. But even more importantly, maybe click the 3 buttons on any social media you got and share this with people. Or text it to somebody and go, hey, check out this episode, check out that episode, etc. Because
if you think it would help them.
or anything like that, if you really like it, or leave us a review on any of the platforms where we are hot at. Speaking of reviews, Zach.
Yeah, we got a really cool one from a wonderful woman, and I wanted to read this out. She left her name at the end, so we'll get to that. But she said, very positive and informative. I had the pleasure of meeting Jenny Anchondo the same day that I listened to Second Shot for the very first time. I have to say she is exactly like she is in the show. Down to earth, easy to talk to, and so nice. Aww. What I like about Second Shot is that it's upbeat and positive, and they throw in a little life lesson. I love the contrast between Jenny and Heath as they offer different perspectives on the topics they discuss. I found Second Shot to be entertaining, funny, and informative, and thought-provoking. I highly recommend the podcast. Keep up the great work, Martha J.
So I think this is from Martha Jackson, who also hosts a podcast.
Ooh. Oh, really?
By the way, yes. So I'm pretty sure it's her because I met her at an event that I co-hosted last week.
Yeah,
at
we told him
Elizabeth
we were going to fill him in on it.
Yes. Oh, well, okay. So this was a different event. This was like a clothing shopping event. But Martha Jackson, it's called The Bubble Lounge. So if you happen to live in Dallas in the Highland Park area, her podcast is specifically focused on Highland Park, University Park. Really cool, hyper-local stuff for parents and families and stuff. So thank you, Martha, if that was
so
you.
Sweet.
And then, you guys, this email touched my soul.
Because Second Shot...
secondshotcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Second Shot.
I went blank. Wow.
He's like,
You got most of the way there.
How many times have I said that and I literally just forgot it?
It's okay. It's just the name of the show. It's no big deal.
No, the cast. The cast.
Second Shotcast.
Secondshotcast@gmail.com. He said, okay, guys, I'm finally doing it. I love the podcast. My name is Tim Appling, and I live in Jasper, Alabama. Roll Tide. I started listening to y'all after hearing y'all on Chad Prather's show, because remember Chad, who used to co-host this show, had us as guests, so that was awesome. Somebody did like us on Chad's show and actually came over to ours.
It worked.
He started with episode 1 and then went all the way through there. Wow. He says, I can only always take away something from every episode, but episode 90 has been the greatest so far. I've taken the phrase, will it make the boat go faster, and have applied it to everything, especially the weight loss journey that I am on.
Ooh.
So, Heath, did you know that you'd be inspiring someone on a weight loss journey?
Nope, don't think that would be me.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest struggles that people have in their life. So many people can overcome so many things, but not their own health. So congratulations to Tim, because he says, as of today, I've lost 65 pounds since September of 2018. That is
awesome.
That is really impressive.
Yeah.
He says it has been one of the big, hardest struggles of my life, but also one of my greatest achievements. I am more active and have never felt better. Thanks for all y'all do, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. I already see the changes in my life in just a few months.
Awesome.
That
makes me happy.
This came on a day where we were like, what are we doing here with this podcast?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we'll keep doing it for Tim.
Yeah. One
And
more
go
week.
back to episode 90
so
and check
episode
out what
90.
will it make the boat
Yeah.
go faster and see what he's talking about.
That's a great reminder for so many of us with our daily life choices. With whatever your goal is, will it make the boat go faster? So I liked that.
Yeah, I did too. That's awesome, Tim. Thank you
very
for
sweet.
sending that and taking the time.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot. He sent a big email. That means he
Yes.
actually was thinking about it. That we don't take that stuff for granted. We don't take the reviews for granted. We don't take that you taking the time for that for granted at all.
Yeah, that was very cool.
So we need to fill them in. Tell them about the podcast panel you're on, because the last episode, we kind of gave them a tease that you were going to be there. So tell them what that podcast panel thing was.
It
you
was
were on.
really cool. Okay, so we did a panel basically for other potential podcasters or people who are wanting to be guests on podcasts. You know what I mean? Like promote whatever it is that they're doing on a podcast or advertise on a podcast. So we had this whole group of women from me as the solo woman on this podcast, and then the First and Tens podcast, and then Sinisterhood. So First and Tens is a female all fantasy football league, and then Sinisterhood is like true crime mystery investigation. So all from very different avenues, but all podcasts that are produced in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and doing pretty well. So it was really neat to meet so many of you who were there and asking questions. And I hope that if you do have it, in your heart to start a podcast, I hope you go do it. There are how many podcasts right now?
Over 750,000.
Yeah,
So
it was
why
an
not
awful
add
lot.
another?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's still plenty of room because
Totally.
the majority of people meet and talk to still don't even know where to go to subscribe and find it. It's legit still.
It's still new.
It's still
still
so
growing.
new.
Yeah.
And I have to explain too, now that I've been putting this video on Facebook, if you're watching this on Facebook, that's not first of all, we're glad you're watching, but this isn't the podcast. You have to go to a podcast app and then download the app and then hit subscribe, and that way you'll get the new episodes each week.
Yeah.
Because we can't guarantee that you're going to see it on Facebook because of the algorithms and stuff. So it's like just kind of random if you see it.
Yeah, the only way to make sure that you get it fresh every week when it gets posted is by subscribing there to the podcast feed.
Right.
So thank you to the badass ladies of DFW for having me on the panel. I was honored to be one of, of all the podcasts that are produced in this city, or this state. I mean, I was really honored to be able to be there and to connect with so many people and just talk about the business of podcasting. It was very fun.
I wish I'd been in town. I would have liked to have gone to that.
There were a lot of ladies there.
Really?
Oh, there you go.
Well, shoot. Yeah.
As the engaged man
Yeah,
that
it's
he
true.
is.
Yeah. As a man getting married very soon. Yeah. No, that sounds super cool.
It was, and it's just neat to kind of talk to other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. I think when you're kind of on this little solo journey with the four of us, it can be like a little bit isolating, but it was cool to hear ideas from the other podcasters too.
Yeah.
So we've been doing our question of the week, and we figured today's question would sort of relate to the whole theme of this show, which is like, kids and back to school. So the question is, what's the top lesson you've learned from children?
Any kid,
Yeah,
Obviously.
obviously you don't have to have kids. A lot of our audience does not have kids. But is there something out there, that you've learned about life or about business or anything like that that you've learned from children? I guess I kind of already gave my 3, so I'll leave it to you, gentlemen.
You gave me your 3.
I gave my 3. I've got nothing else to learn.
No, that's.
Just kidding. What do you have, babe? What
I
have you
think
learned
everybody's-
from Brighton?
I'm trying to think of the one, because there's so many that I literally on a daily basis with her is just such a.
But the way she sleeps 12 hours a night.
Yeah,
That's healthy.
that's a great,
That's nice.
It'd be a nice thing to learn.
great lesson.
Isn't that a great lesson? And she eats more than an adult.
She does.
She does, you guys. I took her to brunch and I ordered her a full adult entree and an appetizer. And my friends were like, "Oh, are you guys splitting that?" I'm like, No. That is just for her.
It's
All
amazing.
healthy stuff too. Yeah, she ate like an entire avocado, a whole chicken breast.
I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that just how powerful it is that we are not like the majority of the things that we have or don't have that we think get in our way that are just us or something. I know there's sometimes there is some of that in certain deals, but we're taught, talk about the Ignorance on Fire, right? My book called Ignorance on Fire. So, which is, just doing things and saying to heck with what that outcome is, like how much a kid has How many times I told Brighton, do not stand up in that bath, you're going to fall. And then last night she fell, busted her, her lip open and all that. And it's like, I've told you that 100 times, but you did it anyways, right?
She's ignorance on fire.
It is, and it's also that remembering of the childlike state that we didn't know that it's a bad thing to fail unless we were taught it's a bad thing to fail, right? And so that if we were taught that at one point and we're dealing with that in our mind, we can there's that dyslexia kicking in when you can't say all the things together.
It's okay.
Our brains to go, oh, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to be scared of failing. Like when you see that it is obviously taught when she has zero thought at all around care about failing, then, we were obviously taught that at one point. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that keeps a muscle memory in me of remembering.
Same thing. It's like when she rides her bike, when she rides her little strider.
Yeah.
She's so slow, and eventually she gets it, and she keeps trying.
Yeah.
What about you, gentlemen? I know this is a little bit of a curveball of a question.
My parents were teachers, right?
That's right.
And so growing up, they spent a lot of time in the community and at church and stuff. So they wanted my sister and I to understand that like love for like teaching others, and so they had to spend a lot of time like babysitting and hanging out in like the youth, like little kids youth group and stuff, like teaching kids. And so this is a tough one for me, but I think the biggest thing I've gotten from kids is just like that sense of like boundless idealism. That like not only is a failure not ever really that big of a deal, but like you can never let your passion be stemmed by something that seems to slow you down for even a second. Like if a kid is excited about something, it does not matter what gets in the way. It does not matter what adult says, hey, you shouldn't or you can't or slow down. Like they're going to keep going for it. Again and again and again. And like it might be frustrating as an adult to have somebody not really listen to what you say, but like in a way I gotta respect it. Because I'm like, man, I wish I was that way. I wish I was wired that way. We're just like, no matter what, you're like, no, I want to do this thing. Why wouldn't I do it?
Right.
I'm just gonna go do that thing. I don't care who's in my way or what's gonna stop me. And like,
true.
it's obnoxious at times, but ultimately like it's a lesson I probably need to pay a lot more attention to.
I like it. What about you, Matt? And was your mom a teacher? Did I make that up?
No, she was.
Okay, that's what I thought.
All through. She kind of followed me up through the grades. She was a PE teacher and then librarian.
I like her style.
Yes.
Just it was like what Amy talked about a couple weeks ago, being a smother mother.
Yeah.
Like you just
Smother
always
mother.
be around.
Yeah.
And I say that with love because I also consider myself to be one.
Oh.
It worked out in some ways. In some ways, it didn't. No, I think back to I think kids can be a really good example of how everything you do, even the little things, can be someone's impression of you.
Yeah.
I think to a kid that I met. This was in my neighborhood. I was walking my dog around, and I met this kid. It was a few years ago. They were very young, out walking with their parents, and I think they had a dog. They met my dog. They pet him and everything like that and went on their way. And then like years later, I'd say like a couple of years later or 3 years later, I saw that same family walking by and the kid asked me about the dog. Like that's the only thing that kid knew about me was like, you're the guy with the dog, right?
Yeah.
Or you're the guy with the weird hat, or you're the guy that, with the thing on their porch, or, we do a big thing for Halloween every year and the kids remember our house as that's the Halloween house. So I think about like how you can translate that to your adult life where like even the little things that you do can leave a lasting impression on someone.
Yeah, so true.
And like you may not even realize it. I didn't realize that a couple of years later I was going to meet that kid and he's going to ask me about my dog again, but he remembered. And same with other people who I've met in my life, how the little bitty things that I've done have made a lasting impact. Maybe not quite as much as they do when you're a kid, but they do matter.
And it's like, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
What are you putting out there? Ooh, I might do that as a question next week.
Ooh.
Look at me
Hey.
pre-planning.
Second Shot Facebook group. Send us an email, secondshotcast@gmail.com. Leave us a rating review. Share it with your friends and family. Where can they find you?
JennyAndChondo.com. Jenny and Chondo on all social media except for Twitter. It's Jenny and Chondo TV.
At Apple Zackintosh on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a rating and review, guys. Tip your waiter or your podcast host or whatever.
That's right.
5 stars if you can swing it, yeah.
You can find me, Matt Stoker1, on Instagram and in the Facebook group, posting all the new episodes.
At Heath Oaks at Ignorance on Fire on all of the social media platforms. I hope you take inspiration from that kid today, and I'd love to see anybody go get a shirt and say you just want to be a friend. Be a friend today. Love it. We need it in this world, and we love you. See you next time.